Welcome. My name is Jenn Atkinson. First and foremost, I apologize that this presentation is not live like it was supposed to be. Apologies for the technical difficulties. It will be better next time. We will be live and we will get to interact with each other like we had planned tonight. Sincerely apologize. Hopefully, maybe this recording in your inbox right now maybe is more convenient to you in this situation, but I want to get the information in your hands, okay? And so I'm gonna present this to you in a recorded fashion this time, so that we can introduce ourselves to you, and you know who I am and what we are offering AJV and partnering with AJV. So without further ado, here we go. We are going to present the status of college admissions and what matters most in applications. So first and foremost, this presentation is about the application cycle for a general applicant. If you are planning to be recruited, and I know a lot of us are, maybe that are viewing this presentation, the experts on recruiting are going to be the recruiting department from AJV. So we're talking about Colby, we're talking about Lauren, Becky. Okay, those are your go-to people for any questions about college coaches, when to contact, how to contact, all of the things in terms of volleyball recruiting. This presentation is going to be everything else that has to do with college admissions. So here we go. Status of college admissions. Like I said a second ago, my name is Jenn Atkinson. I am a professional educator of 14 years. I have been in the middle school setting, in the high school setting, all over the place as a teacher. As most recently, I'm a professional counselor. So I am a counselor. Currently, I'm the lead counselor at Leander High School and Leander ISD. So lead a staff of 6 counselors, about 23-ish hundred students at my school. I'm an IB World School at Leander. I've also been a counselor at Vista Ridge High School as well as a middle school counselor in my career. So I say all that to tell you I've seen a lot of students. I've guided a lot of students in all sorts of areas in their life through this process, from the middle school level to the high school level, to I don't know what I want to do, to I know exactly what I want to do and I want to go here. So I've seen it all, right? And so although Bound College Coaching is a new company, the experience of Bound College Coaching and the services that I'm offering are not new, okay? So the only new part is just the business, the business part. So what is a college coach? You may have never heard of a college coach before. You didn't know it was a thing. Maybe why is a college coach needed? Or maybe you do know what it is and you have some assumptions of what a college coach is, or more specifically, what a college coach costs. A college coach is someone who is going to help your family navigate the college application process from beginning to end. They're going to meet you where you are, wherever that is. Maybe you know a little, maybe you know a lot, but a college coach is going to help you figure out which colleges to apply to, what are the requirements for those colleges and for those applications, what are the deadlines, what careers and majors should I be considering, should I choose. And then they're going to help you if you start working with them early enough. They can help you academic plan throughout high school, help you what we call activity list building, so that you maximize kind of the time outside the classroom, and also help you get a good goal planning strategy for SAT and ACT. So that in a gist is what a college coach does. Now, why is a college coach even needed these days? Well, if you know nothing about college admissions and the state of college admissions, hopefully you know more after this presentation. But in a nutshell, it's a different ballgame. I went to college 16, 17 years ago. I applied to 2 colleges, right? And that's kind of the norm for even older millennials and older parents out there. that, we applied to a handful of schools and we knew we were going to get into one of those schools and that was a done deal and it was done. What's the big deal? It's a different ballgame. And so I'm going to explain to you throughout this presentation what is different about college admissions in 2024 and beyond. And why, college coaching is even an industry. But I do want to tell you off the bat, and I promise this is not just an hour-long sales pitch, I promise. But at Bound College Coaching, I do specialize in 3 different options. And the reason why I offer 3 different levels of service and options and price points, honestly, is that I am super passionate to have everyone have the knowledge that the uber rich can afford, right? Everyone needs the attention and the knowledge and the strategy that Bound College Coaching can offer you to make you a strong applicant. I've seen firsthand in the private sector when I've done private college coaching and in the public sector with my kids at school. I've seen students, and I know the students that are getting that individual help with essays and deadlines. They apply sooner. They apply intentionally to more schools. They know that the schools that are applying to are a good fit for them. And then strategy-wise, there's so much strategy behind college admissions, unfortunately, that it is an advantage. And I hate to say it, but it is an advantage. And so my goal is to make there be options at whatever budget level you are as a family in order to get the knowledge to you and in front of your face, okay? I want everyone to have the knowledge. I'm a passionate public educator, and so I want the options to be on a level playing field, even though I know and realize that not everyone, has the same financial boundaries with their family. So that in a nutshell is Bound College Coaching. So let's get started on the status of college admissions. So status of college admissions. In a nutshell, applications have gone up. Admissions rates have gone down, okay? There's a couple of reasons for that, but applications have skyrocketed specifically since COVID-19, 2019, 2020. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of that rise in applications is going to be this concept that we call test optional. Okay, test optional is a phenomenon that has taken the nation by storm. And basically it means that SAT or ACT scores are not required to apply. Okay, so a barrier to the application has been removed for the vast majority of colleges. Now, there are some colleges that are reversing course, specifically UT Austin. If you have not heard, in the last 2 weeks, UT Austin is now going to require SAT and or ACT score for the class of 2025 again. But there are other schools that also offer this or that still require this, and it has since the beginning of time. The state of Georgia, it's a state law that the state of Georgia, all public schools in the state of Georgia still require SAT or ACT scores. But test optional means that the requirement to even submit a score, no matter what that score was, that barrier was removed. So when barriers are removed, number of applications always rise. So test optional came in after COVID. We didn't have access to that test, so we were kind of strong-armed into removing that barrier, and so applications rose. Applications also keep rising every year because of application accessibility. If you are probably over 40 years old, you know that you probably did your application on a piece of paper, you mailed that sucker in, and then you waited, right? Then probably if you're in your 30s, you did it on a computer. And then now if you're in your 20s, you know that there are different internet platforms out there. Specifically, Common App is our most common application platform that A&M, UT, Texas Public Schools, this is like only the 3rd year they've been on Common App. But it has made the application so much accessible that because of that, applications have risen, right? So applications have risen, but there are not significantly a large number of seats available. And so the seats have kind of stayed the same. Maybe they've risen just a little bit, but they have not risen to the same degree that our applications have. And so for that reason, acceptance rates have decreased. And so it is harder than ever to get into colleges, and specifically to get into your more prestigious colleges, even your state schools. It's harder to get into those schools because the acceptance rates have decreased. So that is the why behind college admissions. Now, so let's talk about how to get into college. So depending on what grade level you may or your son or daughter may be in, you may not know the different levels, or how do you even get into college. You're saying that it's hard, so how am I going to get in there? So first and foremost, there are 3 different ways to get into college. You're going to fall into, for sure, one of these 3 ways. The first way is what we call automatic admission. The second is assured admission, and then the third is individual and decision, or sometimes it's referred to as individual review or holistic review. So let's go through what the 3 of these mean. So automatic admission, this is a Texas state law. It's actually House Bill 588 if you're nerdy enough to care about that. But it's a state law that requires any public university that gets funding from the state of Texas to admit students that are in the top 10% concerning rank, in the top 10% of their graduating class at the time of the admissions deadline. For the vast majority of schools, that is going to equal the end of junior year. So if your rank is in the top 10% at the end of junior year, top 6% for UT Austin, then you are guaranteed a admission into the public university that you're applying to. Now, something to keep in mind, and some really, really, really big misconception about automatic admission, is you are not guaranteed your first choice major. Now, let me repeat, you are not guaranteed your first choice major. So what that means is, yes, if I'm in the top 5% and I'm sitting with plenty of cushion at the end of my junior year and I want to go to UT, you can absolutely be a Longhorn, but I want to be a business student and I want to be a Longhorn. You may not be both. And so you're not guaranteed your first choice major. Some universities, most notably UT Austin, they admit by major. And so, yes, you are admitted into the university, but you are not admitted into just free range of majors. And so there's strategy behind that of how to best apply for your first choice major. But that is automatic admission. Okay. Now, the second one is assured admission. So assured admission is kind of a combination of automatic admission plus required SAT scores. So assured admission is going to be, and these are just select universities that participate. And so I want to really delineate here, this is not state law. And so because it's not state law, that means that universities don't have to participate in assured admission. Very notably, we usually see assured admission opportunities for students at schools that have very healthy acceptance rates. So assured admission is going to be your rank plus a minimum SAT score, and they're going to try to balance each other out. Okay, so I have a document here that kind of gives a good representation of an assured admission category. So assured admission at Texas Tech is there on the left. Assured admission at Texas State is there on the right. And so you can see, let's say you're in the second quarter, so you're between 25 and 50%. That's where your rank falls in comparison to your peers. And so if you're in that second quarter, you would need a 1240 for guaranteed admission to Texas Tech. But on the flip side, you would only need a 1090 for guaranteed admission to Texas State. So that is assured admission. It's 2 categories put together, and it is still guaranteed admission. But just like the caveat, you have to have an on-time application, and you also have to have get into your major, right? Okay, so that is assured admission. All right, next up is individual review and decision, very oftentimes called or referred to as holistic review. So holistic review takes into account everything you see here on the screen, which basically means everything, right? It is honestly the way that the vast majority of students will get into college in 2024, 2025, and beyond. Holistic review, it takes into account everything, every experience, every grade, every word about you, from you, not from you, into account to try to get you into that university, not just based on one or two factors that your assured and automatic admission is based on. Now, like I said, the vast majority of us are going to get into a certain college under holistic review. And even if we are auto-admit, namely at UT Austin, let's say we're auto-admit at UT Austin, you're still going to be a holistic review for your particular major. So keep that in mind. It can be a combination of some of these different categories, but holistic review is everything. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now for the rest of the presentation is I'm going to show you a tool that we use here at Bound College Coaching. We do not in any way own this tool. It is actually a free tool that you can access. But at Bound College Coaching, we help our families work through and researching on a really deep, intimate level the colleges that they're applying to, so that they make sure that they understand what is most important at that particular college and how does that compare to this other college that I'm applying to. What strategy things can I control that I need to be doing at certain times in order to make me a more competitive applicant. So let's go over this tool. This tool is called the Common Data Set. Common Data Set. Again, don't own the tool. It is a tool on the internet. It is a tool, it is a common collection of data. Excuse me. It's a common collection of data that is published every year. It's a standardized collection of data, so it's a really easy tool to compare certain data points from college to college in a really efficient way. Every college has, certain stats on their website, but this is a standardized way in order to compare data from one school to the next. So the common data set, it is divided into different sections, chapters, what you say, but in one particular chapter, chapter C or section C, there is this chart that we see here. It is called the basis of selection. So the basis of selection is how you figure out what is this particular college most looking at in the application cycle. I have a couple examples here that I'm going to show you that we're going to compare. This particular one is for Baylor University. There are, again, standardized categories there on the left. And so the college answers, of all of these standardized categories, which are most important, all the way to we don't care about or even offer in our application cycle for the admissions process. So we're going to go through a couple of the academic factors there on the left and a few of the non-academic factors just to make sure. Some of them are really straightforward. State residency, that's pretty straightforward. But we're going to look at some of the factors that maybe are not as straightforward to make sure that you understand how they are giving points to that, are viewing that in the college application process. So a couple of things I want to point out here specifically for Baylor, and this is going to be pretty common across the board, and we're going to spend some time explaining what the most common things are that you see in that very important column. Rigor of secondary school record, academic GPA, test scores, class rank sometimes is thrown into there in that very important category. So we're going to go through some of those so that you understand what does rigor of secondary school record really mean, how are they actually categorizing that or giving me points for certain things. So we're going to go through a couple of these standardized examples on the left, but the basis of selection is straight from the university, what they care about, what they are saying. We're giving the most points to these certain category pieces, and all the way down to we don't even offer an interview, which Baylor does not. In comparison, I want to show you Rice University's basis of selection. And so Rice, again, standardize on the left, okay, but they're just going to answer it differently. So rigor, GPA, those were similar to Baylor. Those are very important, but not similar to Baylor. The essay, the recommendation letters, extracurricular activities, talent, character, personal qualities, those are all in the very important category. So very interesting, sometimes a little confusing, especially on those bottom ones, on how they're actually gauging your extracurricular activities or talent or character qualities. But we'll go over some tips here on how really to put your best foot forward in that avenue. But basis of selection, it is a holy grail of figuring out straight from the university, not from your cousin, uncle's friend, or from your bandmate from last year that now got into A&M and they say this is important. This is straight from the university's mouth, what is important in the application process, okay? All right, so let's go over a couple of these things. Rigor of secondary school record. First and foremost, this is probably going to be most important in just about every single basis of selection chart that you will look at. So let's explain to it what it means. In general sense, it's going to be the information from your transcript, okay? So the level of rigor, the difficulty of the classes that you took while you were at your high school, okay? They're going to get that information from your transcript. As you notice here, the example of this transcript, there's little codes on the transcript that that tell the university what level of class it was that you attempted. So they're going to be able to tell if that algebra class was on level, honors, pre-AB, pre-IP, anything, AB, any of those types of categories, right? They're going to be able to tell those things, but weaved into this rigor of secondary school record, really the underlining tone here of what they're trying to determine is, yes, what classes did you take? Did you take college level classes, dual credit, IB, AP? What did you access? But really, they're going to then compare that to what was offered at your school. So if you see here on the screen, you can notice that this snapshot here is actually from the counselor side. So your school counselor is going to answer these questions about you in your application. And so they're going to compare what type of student you are versus what was offered at your school. And then there are 3 separate questions outside of this application here that we're going to answer about you. Are you an IB diploma candidate? Or are you AP capstone diploma candidate? Or are you advanced Cambridge diploma candidate? Now, we don't have time to go over every single one of these diploma programs right now, but in gist, these are all advanced academic programs. If your school offers these programs and you don't take advantage, that's going to be something that the university knows, okay? For some schools, not that big a deal, right? If they have a really healthy acceptance rate, if you're a good candidate, it's not going to be the end of the world if you're not an IB diploma candidate at an IB World school. However, if you're trying to get into a very competitive, academically competitive school, and you are at an IB school or you are at a school that offers AP capstone diploma and you didn't take advantage of that, the school is going to take that into account into the whole picture, right? So you want to understand what was offered at your school and what did you take advantage of, and do those align based on what you say that you're interested in or what your major is going to be. Okay, so moving on to the next one, class rank and GPA. This one is somewhat more straightforward than rigor of secondary school record. So it's going to be, again, black and white data and comparison of how does your class rank, how do you compare to your peers. There's data in the common data set. Again, this is all in section or chapter C, and it's going to be, the data is going to be, you want to compare where you fall in your class rank and your unweighted 4.0 GPA. You want to compare that to these charts and try to understand for yourself, am I a majority candidate or am I a minority candidate here? Does my GPA align with the majority of kids that get accepted? Am I in the top quarter? If I'm in the top quarter, then that would reflect 88% of the current freshman class at Texas A&M. If I'm outside that top quarter, then what does that mean, right? That it doesn't mean that it's going to be an automatic no if I'm not in that top quarter, because as you can see, there are people that got in that were outside of that top quarter. However, the vast majority of students were inside the top quarter. More than half were inside that top 10%, right? So you want to compare your stats with the stats that you see in the section C in the class rank and GPA portion, and understand, do I fall in a favorable category here, or am I kind of outside the lines? So if you're outside the lines, all we want to do is just temper our expectations that this might become more of a reach school for me. And so I do need to, so I can't change the black and white, besides obviously increasing your grades, right? But as you get older, your GPA can only change a smaller and smaller amount. And so you want to understand that if your GPA or rank falls within a non-favorable category, then you want to have more emphasis on the other parts of your application that you do have more control over at this point in your career, especially, or your high school career, especially if you're a junior. Okay. Okay, so standardized test scores. This can be anywhere from your test optional, so we want to make a decision on strategy. Should I submit test scores? Should I not? All the way to it's going to be in the most important category. For some schools, I do expect that it goes back to the most important category for UT Austin, since they did reverse course about 2 weeks ago, and they are going to require SAT or ACT scores going forward. So standardized test scores, you just want to understand going into junior year, or even if you are a junior right now, it's not too late you can still retest on SAT or ACT if you need to, but you need to understand what is a competitive score for the school that you're trying to get to. Very common question I get probably every other day when we're in the fall is, what's a good SAT score? And it's an impossible question to answer if we don't know what colleges that you are applying to. Obviously, we all know a 1500 is a great SAT score, but believe it or not, there are some schools that even are not Ivy League schools. There are some schools that even a 1500 would not be a competitive score, which is shocking, I think, to some people. But there are schools out there that even a 1500 would be low. So with that being said, you need to understand one score could be average at one school, barely hit the mark, and then it could get you scholarship money at another school, just depending on what level of school academically it is, how big their acceptance rate is. So the common data set gives you a percentile range of SAT or ACT scores. It's really interesting to kind of go back in time and kind of see trends of SAT scores over time for particular schools. However, if you are in a test optional situation, so remember, test optional means you have the option to submit scores or not. If you are in that type of situation, my best advice to you is take that 50th percentile number. If you're not north of that, then you just withhold your score, okay? Because if you're not north of that, that basically means that you're below average. You don't want to submit anything on your application that breathes below average. That's just going to hurt you. And so if you do have the option to be test optional and you are below average, certainly withhold that score. If you don't have that option, or if you are above average, then we want to start having that conversation of if it's going to be strategic for you to submit the score. It's very, very common that some students will submit their score at some schools and then withhold it at other schools. And the schools that they submit to, they may even get scholarship money at those schools, but they're withholding it at other schools just based on strategy and based on the level of acceptance rates for those schools. Standardized test scores, it's a huge deal. I would expect more schools to start to reverse course a little bit on SAT, kind of like UT Austin did. One, level of applications they want to get down because they have to read them. But then also UT, if you read any of the news release or media about it, they actually tracked students starting from 2020, from our COVID year when test optional was invented and really widely accepted. They actually tracked those students for 4 years, and overall they had a lower graduation rate. Academically, they just performed lower, and they saw more academic issues. And so that's why they decided to reverse course, because they wanted to get back. They wanted to work on their graduation rate. and those kind of other academic factors. And so based on their own data collection over the years, they found that it was more advantageous for them to admit students with SAT scores and strong SAT scores, I will say. So that is standardized scores. Here is just information and data for you, because we always get the question of what is a good score for UT. Excuse me. So UT, this is a collection of data back from 2018, and even though the test optional era was accepted in the middle of these years, the range of scores stays semi-true, right? And so if you are trying to be competitive at UT Austin, you need to be close to that number on the right. So we're talking 470, 480 for your non-competitive majors, okay? So we're talking about education, we're talking about liberal arts, some of those lesser competitive majors. Definitely we need to be within the range, getting as close to the one on the right as we can. But then for our competitive majors, so we're talking about any STEM-based major, engineering, computer science, anything with business, even architecture, any of those types of majors that are either there's not a lot of seats, or there are a lot of seats but everyone wants them, or they're just very STEM-based, so they're very math, science-based. You want to be definitely north of the 480. And so, hitting right at 450 or so, and you applying to computer science is probably going to be below average. So keeping that in mind, that these are average across all majors, not specific to each major, right? So the more competitive or more STEM-based major you are, the higher your score needs to be. And naturally, those SAT scores, they're very friendly to STEM-based minds. And so the thought is from the university level that shouldn't be hard for you. So let's move on to some of the more subjective areas of your application, not as black and white. So when we talk about writing, okay, on a lot of those basis of selection charts, you will see character qualities, talents, abilities, specifically named essay that are in the most important category. So what does that mean? Well, first and foremost, there are several different essays that are a part of the college application process. One of those essays is what we call the personal statement, or the main essay. That essay, every college is going to see. So the prompts are broad, they're personal, they're usually about an experience, an accomplishment, an identity, something to do with you as a person, and every college is going to view that essay. So we don't write about being a die-hard USC alumni, or your family went there forever. We don't talk about that in our personal statement, because every college that you apply to is going to read this essay. So they are broad topics, and believe it or not, these prompts are actually already released for the class of 2025. So we have students in the class of 2025 that are already working on writing. Okay, they're already working on writing. So this essay is about 650 words. It's a good meaty essay, but there's lots of strategy behind how to write it, what we should write about, what we shouldn't write about, and that's what we're helping our junior class through right now. And we also have upcoming workshops that are in a more group setting that I'll talk more about a little bit later, that we help students through as well. So that is for the first part of the essay. The second category of essay that is included in college applications, sometimes they're called supplemental essays, sometimes they're called short answer questions, but they are smaller and they're college specific. So Texas A&M is going to ask different questions than Baylor will, than Alabama, than Georgia Tech. So they're all going to ask different questions, and only those universities will see the answers. So that's when we do want to be specific. That's when you do talk about being a diehard Longhorn or diehard Aggie or whatever it is. In those essays, a lot of times they have themes, right? So very common prompt would be like, why us, right? Why are you choosing Clemson? Why do you want to go to the University of Washington? Why here, right? And another really common one is why your first choice major? Like, why are you choosing business? How do we know you're not going to change majors 14 times? So talk to us about why you're choosing this major. And then another one, especially kind of timely after the Supreme Court decision about affirmative action was reversed last summer. It's now no longer legal for colleges to factor in. They can no longer ask you about race, ethnicity, any kind of identity in a straight up question, and they cannot have it in a question and then have that as a determining factor in the college application process. But reality is that most colleges disagreed with that, and they want diverse campuses, right? And that does not always have to just mean diversity of race or ethnicity. It could mean certain identities. It could mean really artistic people and really STEM-minded people. It could mean gender, right? So there's a lot of different aspects that go into they wanting a diverse population, but a lot of universities really value the diversity, and so a lot of universities were very vocal against the Supreme Court ruling, and so there sometimes what we have seen, at least in this past year, is that there is a question weaving in that gives you the opportunity to talk about any type of identity that you relate to, and again, that could be my identity is wrapped up into my family culture. It could mean a lot of things, right? And so, but in just those are two of the categories of essays. So you have your main essay or your personal statement, which is about 650 words. It's like a legit full essay. And then you have your supplemental essays or your SAQs, which are smaller. Usually those are, there are some out there that are about 50 words, but traditionally they're somewhere between 200 and 300 words is kind of most common of what we see. But there are some out there that are super tiny, and there's some that are a little bit over 300 words. And so, but they're all specific to each university. So if you kind of do the math here, and I said before, students are applying to 6 to 10 schools on the regular. If all of them had 2 SAQs, you're talking dozens of essays that you're writing, right? And so that's another reason why college coaching is even in existence, to help students not only navigate that just in a timeline and logistically, but also just the writing, right? The amount of writing, helping proofread, helping strategy-wise for you to figure out what's the most effective way to write all of these essays. Should I be writing them in a certain order? And absolutely you should. And so that's part of the strategy that is included in the college coaching industry. Okay, so moving on here, we are almost here at the end, but we have a couple of more to go through. So extracurricular activities, volunteer work experience, this could be super important as well in the college application decisions. And the reason for this is that college admissions readers, they really want to know what type of person you are, right? I talked a little bit about that diversity on campus. They're really trying to find good matches socially, good productive members of the college and community now and in the future. So they're trying to find people that align with the values and morals of whatever the university stands for. And so as a human being, you are going to participate and you're going to invest your time in things that you care about. And so extracurricular activities, volunteer work experience, all of those things, they're going to evaluate those as what you care about, what are you experiencing. So it's not just, I'm going to get 10 points because I was the president of yada yada. It's not going to be necessarily like that. They're going to be evaluating it very subjectively of what did you get out of the experience. So we do help our clients if we get to work with you from an early stage. We get to help you brainstorm different activity, what we call activity list building. There are some colleges namely UT Austin, that they admit by major, and so it is important to have what we call evidence to a fit to major on your application through your extracurricular activities. But it's also really important for you to demonstrate all of those soft skills. More and more and more universities are more worried about the social aspect of your interpersonal skills, your work ethic, your grit, your perseverance, your organization, your timeliness, all of those skills that you learn through sports, through volunteer work, through work experience, through clubs and activities. So it's not just, oh, I got an accolade here, or I got an accolade here. It is, what did you get out of the experience? So we preach that it is quantity is a lesser importance than quality. So you want to make sure that the experiences that you are spending your time in, you're not doing them just to check a box. You're doing them to actually gain something from that, gain insight, gain experience, but you're gaining some skill or viewpoint or whatever it is from that experience. So in the Common App, you actually get 10 spaces to explain how you did spend your time as a high school student outside of that classroom. And so what I want you to hear from this is that, again, quality is better than quantity. You only get 10 spaces. So there is no reason for you to go out and join 20 clubs or found 7 different clubs at your school because you want everything on your application. Admissions readers are going to know, and they're going to see through that you're one person. You cannot be president of 10 things, right? So you only get 10 spaces, but you don't have to fill up all 10 either, right? If you had some really legit experiences that you did for multiple years and you can really explain a lot that you got out of those experiences, namely AJV, you're going to put AJV on your college application, whether you're going to be a player or not. If you're not going to be a collegiate player, they're not going to care how you serve, right? They're not going to care what offense you can run. But they are going to care what you learned from your experience through participating in organized sports. They're going to see your commitment of the number of hours and weeks and years that you participated in this, and how that really molded you as a person. Okay, so again, through the college admissions process, you're really trying to paint a picture of who you are. And the college is trying to find those pictures that are worth hanging in their university, right? They're trying to find the people that align with the university. I have one more slide here that is about demonstrated interest. So this is a little bit more of a black and white, almost like, hey, I can do this to check the box category. This is more on strategy. So demonstrated interest, it is on that basis of selection chart. But demonstrated interest is a way for you to tell the university that you are interested in the university, right? You're interested in them. If you apply, you're going to say yes. And so some universities put a lot of weight on this. Some put 0 weight on it. Again, you can find that in the basis of selection chart. However, these are some examples on the screen of how to demonstrate interest. So you can demonstrate interest by attending in-person campus visits, dorm events, college events, university events. A smaller way would be following campus newsletters, social media accounts. You can also establish a relationship with a regional admissions counselor. They come to your high school, they go to college fairs, they have emails, they have appointments. Visit with those people, ask questions, make a relationship so they know who you are. And then the number one most important way to demonstrate interest is going to be applying early decision. So this is not offered at every school. If the school does offer early decision, it's a very serious decision to come to. So it's definitely a family event if you are applying early decision. Because if you apply early decision, you are saying, Duke, I'm applying, and at the same time, I'm saying yes, even if I'm going to pay full price. But applying early decision is the number one way to tell this school that they are number one on your list no matter what. So demonstrated interest is one of those, honestly, strategic check the box things that could tip the scales if the college is tracking that. And a lot of colleges spend a lot of money tracking technology, tracking your interactions with the university, because they are really trying to protect what's called their yield rate. So that means they give this many acceptances and this many people enrolled. They want that ratio to be as small as possible, and to decrease every year, because it's a gamble of how many people that they are accepting, because they need this many seats, this many butts in the seat in order to pay the bills, right? And so demonstrated interest is one way to tell the university, hey, if you say yes to me, I'm going to say yes to you, okay? We're in this together. And so you want to demonstrate interest if the school cares about that. And again, common data set, section or chapter C, and you can find that basis of selection charts, okay? Okay, so again, I am very, very, very apologetic that this is not live. Our next presentation will be live. You'll be able to ask questions and we'll be able to interact. I apologize for the technical difficulty, but we'll get it worked out before next time. But I do want everyone to know, because you're a part of the AJV family, this was sent out from Colby, but I just want everyone to hear it. You do get a 15% discount on any services with Bound College Coaching. And if you have multiple siblings, if you have multiple children in your family, we can give you additional discount. So talk to me. Let's figure out how we can make a plan to give your family what you need. And real quick, I just want to explain like the different series that we have. We have a self-guided, workshop, and comprehensive series. So the 3 series, they go up in price. So if you start at the self-guided, the reason why I created self-guided is I'm, as I said already, I'm a public educator for 14 years. I'm very passionate about people having that strategy, and knowing when to do what where, and the strategy not be the reason that they don't get in, right? If there's other reasons why they don't get in, that's always going to happen. But it's not because of timeliness, of deadlines, of strategy. I hate seeing that. And I hate it when somebody else who could have paid for that strategy, is a more competitive applicant just because they have more money, right? Let's face it. And so the self-guided series is the most budget-friendly option. And so it goes like this. You're going to get videos kind of like this one. If you were able to watch or listen to this video and able to follow along, then the self-guided series is probably great for you. It is set up for families that can go through the process, can help their son or daughter get through this process. They just need to know the what. They need to know the what and need to know the when. They have a full-time job or multiple children, and they don't have time to keep up with all the changing deadlines, and they need a checklist. They just give me a checklist and I can go and we can follow along with you and we can get there. The self-guided series is perfect. There's a low monthly fee that is set up for families on a budget, and you get access to video lessons like this. You get email reminders of, hey, this is coming up. Hey, you should be doing this at this time. And you can get through that. The workshop series is everything that I just said, plus the summer going into your senior year, you attend a virtual workshop where you get to actually write your essays. You get to finish probably about 90% of your application in a group workshop lesson. So you get all of the same self-guided information leading up to the workshop for however many years you participate. And then summer going into senior year, I help you with your application. So you come knowing where you want to apply. You have your list. And so then we work through in a group class setting. We work through getting all your timelines in order, all the checklists that you need, getting everything organized, and then actually writing essays. I help proofread and give you feedback on strategy and, hey, take it this angle, avoid this topic, all of those types of things. That's going to be the middle series of your workshop series. It's great. It's great really for any family, but specifically for athletes. If you don't know, if you're a junior, college applications open August 1st. What also starts August 1st? high school volleyball season, right? They start at the same time. They are at the exact same time. And the deadlines are right around the same time in November. There are some deadlines even in October, which is right in the middle of, you're right in the middle of second round of district in October. And so attending the workshop in the summer is going to alleviate so much stress on you. It's going to alleviate stress on you as in your future self as senior volleyball season, of getting through a lot of the timeline stuff, getting through that before volleyball even starts. And then the comprehensive series is what you would traditionally think about with a college coach. It's everything that I just said, but on an individual level. And so if you need the individual attention, meet with families one time, can meet with families on a comprehensive level individually, so that we can walk through this process. Depending on when you start, we walk through the research, major career activity building, SAT planning, all of that stuff on an individual basis. So that is always an option as well, space permitting. I do limit my caseload so that I can commit the time to everybody that signs up. I do have a family, and so I limit my caseload to be pretty small in the industry. And so, that is set as well, so that I can make sure that I can commit that time. So we have 3 series. I would love to talk to you about what would work with your family. Again, 15% discount for any AJV family, so that includes everyone watching this video. Okay, I hope to see you next time. Please give me another chance for the live version, and we will connect soon. Thank you so much.